Welcome to the Workforce Workshop podcast, where we teach you how to locate, attract, hire, train, and retain your ideal workforce to grow your business. With years of research, professional experience, and guest interviews, we're empowering business leaders with the information they need to know to build their business. Enjoy today's episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Workforce Workshop. In today's episode, we will talk about various types of contingent workforce. Let us start. A contingent workforce gives your business flexibility and agility, enabling it to adapt quickly to changes in a consistently changing environment. For instance, businesses can gain expertise only when they need it through contingent workers, addressing talent shortages, meet seasonal demands, and easing seasonal influxes. With COVID-19, the current global workforce situation provides ample evidence of this. Retail organizations like Walmart and Amazon have increasingly hired a temporary staff of thousands to handle high demand. In contrast, other industries, including broadcasting, media, and even the government, have resorted to freelance and consultants in order to get cost-effective agile assistance. Understanding how to harness the power of contingent workers while minimizing compliance risk is essential for leveraging their talent effectively. We will help you navigate this tricky topic so that you can make informed hiring decisions. So, what is a contingent workforce? An organization's contingent workforce consists of workers hired for a fixed period, typically on project basis. Nowadays, many, if not most firms, have a workforce made up of contingent and non-contingent workers. With alternative work arrangements, freelancers and dependent contractors, part-time workers, on-call workers, and others can be contingent workers. Various developments have contributed to the growth of the contingent workforce. Companies struggle to find people with the right skills, and there is a growing demand for digital skills as well. Finally, tapping into the market for contingent workers, sometimes called the gig economy, allows companies to be flexible, adapting to consistently changing internal and external circumstances will enable them to adjust their workforce. This is evident in the recent COVID-19 situation. There have been many layoffs temporarily in the industry, for instance, in the restaurant industry or the hotels industry as well. The opening of bars and restaurants in certain countries has led to the quick restaffing of these businesses. Contingent workers can help them remain flexible even if they rehire former employees. With the rapid growth of millennials and Generation Z, the global workforce will soon be made up primarily of these generations, who often have different perspective on employee-employer relationship. According to a 2017 survey conducted by Lovell Corporation, 75% of workers in this generation plan to start their own business, and over 70% want their jobs to support their interests. They can earn a living with contingent employment while still being able to work on their own business at the same time. Now, let's talk about the contingent workforce benefits. Contingent workers being a variety of benefits. Here are some of the obvious benefits. First, having access to talent that otherwise would not have been available in contingent employment. If you can hire employees who are otherwise would not be interested in joining your organization, think of celebrities in the industry who have expertise in the field, for example. Most of these people don't want to become full-time employees, but they want a contingent arrangement instead. In the same vein, millennials and Generation Z, workers who wish to keep some of their time running their businesses, might opt for a contingent employment position instead of a full-time contract. Another example would be a parent who has young children and a partner who has a full-time job, for example. The company may want to hire them, but they wouldn't be available 5 days a week. Second, adaptability. Contingency workers provide organizations with a degree of flexibility they cannot get from full-time employees. As a result, they can hire more people when needed and adjust their workforce during quieter periods. Furthermore, depending on your position, you may also value the flexibility of contingent work. As we have seen above, various groupings of workers love the flexibility contingent workforce offers. Third, adding to the talent pool. This period can be seen as test phase by both the contingent worker and the organization they work for temporarily. So the question to ask, are they interested in the permanent contract rather than a temporary one? Contingent employees are a valuable source of additional talent, which organizations already have significant experience with. They know their strength, how they work, and whether or not they fit with the company's culture. Fourth, reduction in cost. Finances are part of the equation as well. Companies find financially beneficial to hire contingent workers. In general, contingent employees pay fewer taxes and do not receive employee benefits. In accordance with the Bureau of Labor Statistics, private sector workers receive 29.8% of all employers' benefits in the US. Americans' organizations can save almost 30% in benefits by opting for contingent workers instead of full-time employees. Fifth, highly specialized crew, not required. Contractors tend to specialize in what they do. It is possible that organizations will need these specialists from time to time, but not regularly. Instead of spending money on training employees, they can hire a contingent worker to help them out. Additionally, contingent experts tend to have a lot of experience. As a result, they don't require much training to get started. They know how to accomplish tasks, and they are capable of doing them independently. Next up, let's discuss the cons of hiring contingent labor. Hiring contingent workers present challenges. Recruiting contingent workers who can perform all the required tasks and quickly adapt to a company's corporate culture can be sometimes difficult. These non-permanent workers are often skeptical of companies sharing their insider information with them. Misclassification of workers can also lead to legal and compliance issues for organizations. A company that declares someone a contingent worker when an employee is a full-time employee, in this case, they can be exposed to hefty fines and penalties. Before developing a strategy for hiring contingent workers, companies should be aware of their industry regulations. With more organizations relying on contingent workers, businesses must be prepared to handle the challenges and demands that come with managing contingent workers. Developing and hiring contingent workers should rely on standardized processes. Finally, what are the types of contingent workers? The right contingent worker can make a massive difference for your business. There may be situations when you can use more than one type in different business areas. Temporary workers can be divided into 4 categories. The first one is temporary contingent workers. Even though a staffing agency employs contingent workers, they are typically located on site for their temporary employment assignment. Companies that require only a couple extra hands can hire them as assignment usually lasts for a few hours or few months. Companies that must scale up for seasonal demand require a specialized skill for a short-term project or have critical employees on temporary leave. By hiring temporary workers, you can fill in those gaps without providing benefits, paying employment taxes, or planning for layoffs when the extra workers are no longer needed. Second, advisors. Consultants are professionals whose area of expertise extend to advising businesses in business strategy and marketing or patent or intellectual property. They often work in highly specialized, complex, or technical areas. In the same way that contingent workers are not employees, consultants as well, they are not employees. Consultants, however, work independently and usually do not manage the work required to carry out their strategy. Unlike temporary workers, however, consultants provide high-level strategic advice rather than performing the actual work. Most companies hire consultants through consulting firms or as independent contractors. The third, independent contractors. A consultant or gig worker is not presented or employed by a staffing agency or consulting company. Their services are provided independently by self-employed individuals. As a result, they are responsible for all employment-related taxes and are not eligible for company-provided benefits. If your company needs specialized services or expertise for either a short-term or long-term basis, but not on full-time basis, you might want to hire an independent contractor. In addition to defining deliverables and deadlines, companies cannot control when and how independent contractors complete their work or risk non-compliance. The fourth one is freelancers. By outsourcing your task to a freelancer, you pay their hourly rates or several deliverables depending on the job at hand. Bloggers are an excellent example of freelancers. A company can pay them a fixed amount per word or article as they have mutually agreed upon. Moreover, freelancers generally do not have a set start or end date, unlike other contingent resources. A gig worker is closely related to this type of contingent worker. There is, however, a difference in that a freelancer is more autonomous when it comes to terms and conditions, more specialized and more able to handle skill-intensive tasks. Next, let's talk about the best practices for the contingent workforce management. Here, we will examine effective methods for managing contingent workforce. First, a human resources life cycle. A company exclusive approach often bypasses the traditional HR life cycle to hire contingent workers. They are not benefiting from all the optimized HR processes, which means their employers aren't either. Create a strategy for onboarding people quickly, managing and improving their performance, and offboarding them. Your company will miss out on opportunities to get contingent workers up to speed faster and increase their performance if they are not part of the HR cycle. Companies following all-inclusive approach to contingent workforce management include their contingent workers in the organization's HR cycle. Second on the list is employee experience. Would it be more appropriate to refer to contingent workers' experience? An excellent experience for all, no matter the contract type, is crucial for all-inclusive organizations. To ensure remarkable employee experience for traditional and contingent employees, they optimize the three enablers: technology, workplace, and culture. One cultural relevant example is making sure traditional employees do not make decisions without asking their contingent colleagues for their opinions, and that information is shared with everyone. Observe your contingent workforce birthdays just as you would for your full-time employees. Small gestures like this can also make a huge difference. Recruitment and employer branding are two other reasons HR should consider contingent workers' experience. Your organization must be able to recruit temporary workers into your talent pool if it treats its contingent workers well and like everyone else. Perhaps they would like to join as full-time employees. However, they probably won't return if they had bad experience and did not feel like part of the team. In addition, they would not recommend you to other potential candidates. Third one is leadership and performance management. Many organizations fail to capture their contingent workers' performance data in their standard HR systems and employee databases. This means that they are losing data of an increasing number of their employees. The importance of temporary employees may not always be the same as full-time workers with permanent contracts. Consider the following example. You just won a big new client for your company, specifically skilled and well-trained projects team. and managers are essential for the first project. Rather than hiring one or more full-time employees, you hire a contingent project manager. Let's say she goes by the name of Lara. Aside from completing the project, she also transferred some skills that your workforce lacked to your current employees. Having managed Lara's performance would have given you data showing that Lara contributed to the organization. As a result, you could evaluate her performance using both full-time employees in similar roles and contingent employees to learn how to improve the performance of full-time and contingent employees with similar responsibilities. Taking performance data from people in contingent employment into your traditional HR system and employees database can also help you with succession planning. Now you already have performance data if you hire a high-performing temporary employee permanently. Thus, these talents can be developed much more quicker. The fourth best practice is to conduct a full background check. Before onboarding a contingent worker, it is crucial to conduct a thorough screening. You can view their testimonials and contact the firms with whom they have previously worked. The process of selecting the right contingent worker is simplified with all this information at your fingertips. Furthermore, it can help avoid deteriorating quality, skill mismatches, or delays in tasks later. Fifth, develop an onboarding process tailored to each project. Contractors are hired on an on-demand basis for projects that require specialized and niche skills. A non-demand workforce and full-time workforce cannot be recruited using the same processes. This undermines the very idea of just-in-time scheduling by delaying the onboarding of the workforce for critical project requirements. To facilitate more accessible and faster hiring of contingent resources, develop a project-specific onboarding processes. 6. Maintain good relations with your contingent workforce. Developing good relations with your contingent workforce is a wise decision, even if they are not long-term. Provide your contingent workers with the right technology, a conducive work environment, and inclusive work culture. By strengthening your relationship with your contingent workers, it will be easier for you to work with them again in the future. Additionally, happy contingent workers will spread the word about your firm to their peers. Due to your good reputation, you will be able to recruit contingent workers for more staffing agencies. The seventh one is managing your workforce's performance for future records. Keep track of all the contingent workers you have hired so far. The data you collect helps you stay on top of them. As an example, you can sort your previous contingent workers according to their experience and skill set. You should also record their accomplishments, contributions, and USPs that have helped you in the past. You can use it to visualize contingent workers. That way you can hire amazing contractors for future projects. 8. Contingent resources may only be appointed from unpaneled vendors. Contingent resources should not be hired randomly every time for two reasons. A lack of proven track records and matching skill set dramatically increases hiring and competent contingent workers. Without a list of appointed contingent vendors to provide contingent workers, chance of unfairness in onboarding may increase. Those in influential positions might use their influence to pass the contracts to their acquaintances, eroding transparency. To improve quality and clarity, create a list of unpaneled vendors to hire contingent resources. Next is a quick comparison of employee versus contingent worker. The nature of contingent workers makes them unemployed. However, how exactly do you define that, especially when you have non-traditional workers such as contractors, consultants, or freelancers? This is a great question. Here is an overview of employees and independent contractors, particularly regarding IRS regulations. There are two critical ways in which contingent workers are different from employees. 1. On-demand workers are hired for specific time. The contingent workers you hire don't have the same long-term commitment as your permanent employees. You are not obligated to keep contingent hires beyond the scope of the projects or contract. 2. Contingent workers cannot receive benefits. The perks and benefits that company employees enjoy do not apply for contingent workers since they are not employees. The fact that contingent workers may not have benefits does not mean that they have to do without them entirely. Workers hired through third-party staffing companies have to use insurance and perks provided by their staffing company. Workers hired through a third-party staffing company have access to the insurance and perks provided by the staffing company they work for. As a result, businesses may receive unequal benefits from contingent workers, depending on what vendor they use. It would be best to hire contingent workers through a solution that acts as the employer of record and provides consistent benefits to all staff members. Furthermore, it eases the burden of managing contingent workforces on your company as well. So let's conclude this episode. In the coming years, contingent workers are likely to become an even more significant part of your organization's human capital. HR practices and procedures are naturally affected by this. Even though many questions remain unanswered regarding contingent workers, the best approach appears to be inclusive as described in this article. Thank you for listening to today's episode. In the next one, we shall talk about shared managed services. Links to everything will be in the description below. If you like our content, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. It will notify you about the new content that we share with you every week. This will help us to produce great content for our professional audience. Let us know if there is something you would like us to discuss in a future episode. Please click the link in the show notes and you can address your questions directly to me. Thank you for listening. I will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Workforce Workshop podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Links to everything discussed will be in the description. To contact us, click the link in the show notes and you could submit your questions or share your story. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.